Well, we've been focusing a lot on Israel and those release of hostages. We've got the President of the United States, Donald Trump, in Israel, about to speak at the Israeli Parliament, the Knesset. When we get that, we'll bring it to you live, I promise. Right now, though, let's talk about what on earth is going on back home, and why did we see the collapse of that Chinese spy trial, and why is everyone pointing the finger at number 10 for doing it? Let's talk to Professor Anthony Cleese. He's a security intelligence expert and joins us once again to try and make, well, head nor tail of this story. Good morning to you, Anthony.
Good morning, Julia.
More development. We spoke with you about this last week, but more developments over the weekend in terms of fingers being pointed at the current government and particularly the Prime Minister's National Security Advisor, Jonathan Powell, for the collapse of this Chinese spy trial. Give us a little bit of background, and what is the allegation now?
Okay. I mean, the whole thing is entirely preposterous. And, you know, I'm somebody that has a lot of respect for Sir Keir Starmer. I'd vote for him, but he's our elected Prime Minister and he's a senior lawyer.
Yeah.
And yet I've never seen such a pig's ear being made of a totally straightforward thing. So when the offences, alleged offences, were committed, we didn't have the July 2023 National Security Act passed by the previous Conservative government, which kind of slightly fiddled around with the definitions. We had basically the 1911 Official Secrets Act, which is a very broad act, and I can even read to you what it says. It says that anybody who makes any sketch, plan or model or note which is calculated or might be or is intended to be directly or indirectly useful to an enemy is spy, traitor, you choose the word. It's entirely clear. It's about the intention of the person passing on the information. It's not about the intention of the enemy or the potential enemy. Indeed.
But the point is that the Prime Minister, a former Director of Public Prosecutions, he's now in sort of clashing with the current Director of Public Prosecutions and indeed another former one, pointing out, he's saying, no, the trial collapsed, he said, because we at the time China wasn't designated a hostile or enemy state.
Doesn't have to be.
That's not true, is it?
Well, you know, you could say, if you want to find out if China is a hostile power or not, let the trial go ahead. That's what the trial was meant to show, in part. But you do not have to have a designated enemy. It's not the enemy, it's an enemy, but it's about the intention of the person passing on the information. And the first conviction against a German spy in 1913 was secured a year before we went to war with Germany during the Cold War. Countless people convicted under the Official Secrets Act for spying for the Soviet Union. We weren't at war with the Soviet Union. No, the government is talking total nonsense.
I mean, we're dancing on the head of a pin on this, aren't we? Well, Kemi Badenoch, the Tory leader, she has demanded that Prime Minister addresses unanswered questions related to this case, but in particular wants him to address them in Parliament. Now, we've had lots of little statements. And again, the crucial thing is, if you are addressing Parliament, you are required to be telling the truth. I can see some rinky-dink little lawyer speak that he'll able to have. And we've had Bridget Phillipson, the Education Secretary, on air yesterday, talking about, no, Jonathan Powell had no role in any of this. No role in the substance of this, she said. And again, leaving the way open. But what do you suspect actually happened?
Well, what I suspect actually happened was that Jonathan Powell, and a lot of credit is due to him for the work that he's done, Northern Ireland, now the Middle East, as President Trump and Steve Witkoff have said. Undoubtedly, he would have been asked for a view as to whether we thought the Chinese would like being on the receiving end of an espionage trial. And from all we know about Jonathan Powell, he's likely to have said, well, I don't think President Xi would be very happy about it. But that actually is neither here nor there. This is about national security. And if I may add one other thing, we're also seeing this in connection with the Chinese plan to build a super embassy in Royal Mint Court. Now, there's something very odd and very fishy about that too. Not just because it would be the largest Chinese embassy anywhere in Europe. I mean, it's an absolutely massive building, but because the Chinese have already bought the building in 2018 for £255 million. Now, that is completely contrary to the Vienna Convention of 1961, which regulates how embassies are doshed out by the receiving state. No foreign power, including the United States, owns their embassy. America owns the leasehold on the embassy, but doesn't own the embassy.
Yeah.
But China owns the embassy.
And the crucial thing, it's right near Tower Bridge. It's going to be built over cables that are crucial for the city. Tower Hamlets Local Council said no. And there are now lots of reports over the weekend that actually this was basically they basically reapplied for planning with a nod and a wink from the government that it will get approval, even though everybody's got a clue about security for this country, financial, military, diplomatic, has said this is insane, it mustn't go ahead.
It is insane. It mustn't go ahead. China should not be allowed to buy its embassy in the UK. It should not be allowed to build a super embassy, because we know what the Chinese do.
Well, indeed.
And the trial would demonstrate to everybody whether or not people like me and the chairman of the Joint Intelligence Committee, for goodness sake, who said in 2023, China's spying is worldwide. There is an undoubted threat. Let the trial go ahead, then we'll find out.
Absolutely. I must remember the two men who have been accused of spying have both denied that. But again, if the trial has collapsed from political interference, we have a right to know. And again, everything being blamed on Jonathan Powell. But at the end of the day, we keep having the Prime Minister having his aides getting up to things they shouldn't be getting up to, and then they leave, and then he carries on. And there comes a point when maybe we should just, make a judgment about Keir Starmer based on the company he keeps and the people he hires. Professor Anthony Glees, security and intelligence expert, thank you very much indeed